Okay, so this is the Prodeso heat mat. And the roll comes 161 foot roll. And what this is, it's a mat with these knobs where you inlay the wire for the heat. And it's also an uncoupling membrane. See the dovetail and that there. So what this does, it acts as an uncoupling membrane for the tile, and with these knobs it allows for the heat to be inserted between the knobs, the heating wire to be inserted between the knobs, and eliminates a lot of work. You can just lay the mat down and then insert the wire and then tile right over it. Very good system and very efficient. It saves a lot of time because you don't have to do a lot of other steps that you would normally do with a regular heat mat. It's just all in one. And with this one here, you can use pretty much any wire that's approved for this mat. Like I'm going to be using a SunTouch wire. For this here, and you can put it the wire can go every 1, 2, 3 knobs, or every 2 knobs. So you can go 3, 1, 2, 3, or 2. You'll see me doing that later. So this is the Prodeso heat mat. Okay, so you only really need a utility knife to cut it. Okay, so this Prodeso heat is an uncoupling membrane. I'm not going to go into what that means in this video, but you can look it up, and it's basically a product that is used in place of a cement board or other kind of underlayment. And as I was saying, it incorporates the ability to place a heating wire in between the pegs of the mat to simplify the whole installation of a heated floor, an electric heated floor. So I'm going to go over the whole process to install this mat and to install the wire and the tile. You install on a plywood subfloor, you install the mat to the subfloor with a modified thin set, a polymer modified thin set. And then you install the tile on the mat with an unmodified thin set. Now I'm going to go over all these details. I'm going to put this piece I just cut next to this one here, this bottom tight. And when you put the knobs together, when you put the sheets together, you want to try and get the knobs to line up. And this, because this was plywood, you install this with a polymer modified thin set, and then you install the tile on top of it with an unmodified thin set, premium unmodified thin set. So I'm going to lay this. I'm going to cut all this area in, over there, over here. Cut it all in, and then put the wire in. Okay, so the only thing you'd really need to install this or to cut it in is just a utility knife and maybe a straight edge. I usually don't even use that. So it's very simple to cut and to install. knobs will end up. Okay, so you can go about installing this membrane in a couple of ways. Usually what I do is I will cut everything in and then cement everything down. I just find it quicker that way, but you don't have to do it like that. You can, cut in a piece, cement it down, and then go get another piece, cut it in, and cement it down, and you can do it that way. I prefer to do it all at one time so that I'm not constantly switching between tools. The important thing is that you use the correct adhesives and thin sets to install this product. The knobs match. It's important to do this so when you run the wire, it doesn't zigzag in and out. Okay, so there's not going to be any wire going under the dishwasher here, so you don't have to match these. You can put these any way you want. Just use up some scrap. Okay, so this is how I do it. I cut the whole thing in. Now I'm going to cement it down. Okay, as I said earlier, because I'm installing this membrane on a plywood subfloor, I am using a polymer modified thin set. In this case, it's actually Maypie Ultraflex 2. And when you mix it, you're going to mix it a little bit looser than you normally would for tile, but it still needs to be able to hold the notch of the trowel. So don't make it too loose, so that when you spread the thin set and with the left side of the trowel, that the notches slump. You want it to still be able to hold that notch, but you want it to be looser than you normally would mix it for installing the tile. Okay, so I'm ready to start cementing it down. So all my membrane is cut in, so I'm going to roll back portions of it, making certain that I don't actually move them out of place, and then I'm going to cement the membrane down with my thin set. I always wet the plywood, remove dust, and to give it a drink so it doesn't absorb the moisture. Thin set too quickly. You don't want to leave any standing water, just a damp sponge, and that's all you need. Okay, so the next step is to spread your thin set. Now what I do is I use the back side or flat side of the trowel to key thin set in. And that's actually important because you get a better bond when you key your thin set. And then you use the notch side of the trowel to gauge your thin set out. So flat side, key it in. Notch side, gauge your thin set out. Okay, so once you got all your thin set spread, you're going to roll the mat back into the thin set and smooth it out with a wooden trowel. Okay, once you've rolled it back in, you want to smooth it out and push it into the thin set with a wooden trowel. And you want to make sure you get all the bubbles out. So you don't want to trap any air under the membrane. So just make sure that you do a really good job of pushing it in and smoothing it out and removing all air bubbles. Okay, so that's the kind of coverage you want to see. Completely covered. Okay, so that's all the Prodeso heat installed. Next step is inserting the wire. Okay, so this is the wire I'm going to be using for the Prodeso heat mat. They come in 120 and 240 volts, come complete with instructions, and you order it according to the area you need to heat. Now the one particular one I got is for 140 square feet, and it's 240 volts. The wire will come with a label on it which has some values on it, which I'll show you in a minute. And you're going to test this wire 3 times. Once when you take it out of the box, once when you get it in the mat, and then when you're finished installing the tile. And you're going to record all those values, all the directions are in the booklet on how to do it. You're going to need a multimeter, and you're going to record all the values in the book. You don't it's important to do this, and also they also gave me a loud mouth, which is I'll show you a little bit later. You connect it to the wires, and that constantly monitors the wire while you're installing it, and if you should cut the wire for any reason, it'll go off and warn you at the precise moment that you did that. Okay, so this is the programmable thermostat. Okay, so the label on the wire has got a couple of values on it, and you're gonna test the wires, and the test should fall within that range. You're gonna set your multimeter to 2000 ohms, and then you're gonna test between the black and the blue lead. In this case, the blue lead could actually be also white. In this case it's blue, so I'm going to test between the blue lead and the black lead, and I should get a number that is within the range of the numbers I just showed you on that label. So it's, this one's testing good. Okay, so you're going to record that value in the appropriate spot on the book, and you're also going to record the model number and the serial number of this wire, cable voltage, etc., all the details of the wire. So I'm going to record that value, and then I'm going to go on to the next test. And the next test is between the ground wire and the blue wire and the ground wire and the black wire. And you should get an overload reading, which is either going to be LO, OL, or I. In this case, on my meter, it says I. And once you've done that, then you're going to measure the thermostat probes. So this wire all tested good and is good to be installed. And I'm going to do this 3 times, like I said, out of the box, when you put it in the mat, and then after the tile has been installed. Okay, so next you got to test the probes. Set your multimeter to 20K or 20,000 ohms, and you're going to test the value of the probes. Now, the probes are dependent on temperature, so the reading is going to be different depending on the temperature, and those readings can be had, or the values can be had by comparing that to a chart in the book. So one of these temperature probes comes with the thermostat, and then I have another one as a backup. It's always a good idea to put 2 in, so if one for whatever reason should fail, you have the backup, and you only connect one of these. You don't connect both, you only connect one. The other one is redundant, just in case you should have a problem with it. Okay, so you're going to test both of those and then record those values for wire 1 and wire 2 in the book. And the temperatures, the readings could be slightly different if for each one of these, if they both weren't kept at the same temperature. Okay, so I did the test and recorded the values. Then once I put the cable down, I'll do it again, and then after the floor's in, do it a 3rd time. Okay, so I've marked off the area that I'm not gonna go, so I know not to go beyond that black line, all the way around. 3 inches away from the wall and 8 inches away from a heat source. Now I got that tucked away there. And now this wire, I'm going to snake it all around. The area is going to be heated. Okay, so I'm going to use a float, a rubber float, to press the wire into between the pegs. It's not very snug, but it does stay put. And you don't want to use anything sharp that could damage the wire. That's why I'm using a rubber float. I can push it in as much as I want, and it's not going to damage the wire. You don't want to do it with a steel trowel. And this wire on this mat can go either 2 pegs wide or 3 pegs wide, or you could actually do a combination of 2 and 3. So you could alternate 2, 3, 2, 3. You could either do all 2 and do all 3. Now, the length of the wire is going to change depending on how you snake this wire in. So you want to make sure that you get the appropriate length according to how you want to snake the wire in. Okay, it's very simple and straightforward, and if you should make a mistake or you didn't snake it wrong or whatever, you can just pull it out and redo it not a problem.
Okay, so this wire can be either put at 2 knobs apart or 3 knobs apart, or a combination of, or an alternating combination 2 3 2 3 2 3. So it could either go all 2 or all 3, or a combination of 2 3 2 3. And the reason you do an alternating combination is so that the heat remains constant. You don't get hot spots. It's more of a constant and even heat. So that's what I'm going to do for this floor, because that's the that's how we figured out the square foot for this floor. And I'm going to install all this wire all the way through here, here, and in there. The whole floor is going to be heated.
Okay, so you're going to stay 3 inches away from the walls. You're going to stay 8 inches away from any heat source. You are not going to go under any appliances like a dishwasher, a refrigerator, or a stove. And you will not go into any closets. And the reason for that is because you don't want anything to overheat. In a closet, a lot of times people put stuff on the floor and it's always covered, and the area needs to be exposed to air, so so it won't overheat. Okay, so you're never going to cut these wires. The length they are is the length you have to use. They can't be modified or cut. They can't be shortened, and they can't be spliced together or lengthened. So you need to order the correct length for the area that you need to cover. And you're never going to cross wires. They're always going to be in the separate channels, and they're not going to overlap or cross over each other.
Okay, so the important thing to remember is you're never going to cross wires like this. You're always going to keep either this particular wire, either 2 or 3 knobs apart. Okay, so the wire's all in, and now I'm gonna test it again.
Okay, so once the wire is in, it's time to put the probes in. And you always place the probes in the middle of the wires, not near one wire or the other, but in the middle. If it's two wires, it's still going to be in the middle. So you cut out part of the peg that I'm doing here, and you insert the probe into that little spot there, and then you snake it back to the wall where it's going to go up the wall and into the programmable thermostat. And you're going to do this with both probes, and you're only going to connect one of them. As I said, one is just a redundant wire, just in case you should have a problem. It's not likely to happen, but because it's under the tile, if it should fail, you can't replace it. So it's good to have a backup just in case. Okay, so just as a note, I am not going to be snaking these wires through the wall or connecting them to the thermostat. That should be done by a licensed electrician, and that is the case here. I'm just going to leave them at the wall. The cavity in the wall is being opened up so that they can be snaked out, and there's a box in the wall for the thermostat, but a licensed electrician is going to do all the connecting to the 240 volts and the thermostat, etc.
Now I'm going to test those two wires.
Okay, so the wire's been installed, and I'm going to test it again to make sure everything's good. Sorry for the bad camera angle. I didn't realize that the wire wasn't in the shot, but I tested it again, and it turned out fine. So this is test number 2 for the main heat wire, and then I'm going to test the probes also. So just to recap, you test between the blue and the black, record the value, should be fall within the numbers that we saw on the label, and then you record between the ground and the black and the ground and the blue, and they should show an I for overload or infinity. Okay, so this is also the second test for the probe wires. Test both of them and also record the values of these once again, and once that's done, I'm good to install the tile.
Okay, so they supply me one of these. So what I did was hooked it up to these thing and the wires for the heat mat, and if there should be a break in the wire, you hear this. So that's just like continually test it. I'm going to shut it off for now, but when I start working on this, I'm going to turn it on. So all my wires in, and I got it figured out exactly how I'm going to do it. It's going to be 12 by 12 tile. So the things they use on this uncoupling membrane is an uncoupling membrane mortar. This is unmodified thin set, but it's a premium unmodified thin set. Don't get cheap thin sets. So I'm going to mix this up and start installing this tile. Okay, so when you install this tile, first you're going to go over the mat with the back side of the trowel, the flat side, and make sure that you completely fill all the mat. Then you're going to flip it over, put some more thin set on, and notch it out for the tile. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to start installing this tile, and I'm going to use the flat side of the trowel first. Okay, so because I have limited space in here, I'm just going to do a little section. I'm not going to cut anything in. I'm just going to, so that I can put, tomorrow I can put my wet star on it. So for now, I'm just going to start going. Okay, so as I said, first you're going to fill the waffles, then you're going to flip the trowel over and notch out the thin set. Now the size of the trowel is going to depend on the size of the tile. Now this is a 12 by 12 tile, so I'm using a 1/4 inch by 3/8 inch square notch trowel. If you're using a larger tile, you're probably going to need a larger trowel. And I always back butter my tiles before I set them in, because you get much better coverage on the back of the tile. You get usually 100%, and that's the goal, is to get as good a coverage on the back of the tile as possible. Okay, so all the spaces between the knobs of the Prodeso heat are all filled. Now I'm flipping the trowel over, and I'm going to notch out the thin set. And the trowel, what the notches of the thin set does, of the trowel does, is actually gauges out the thin set so you get an even bed of mortar. And you want to keep all the lines of the trowel lines all go in the same direction. That way it's easier to collapse those lines as you push the tile in and get 100% coverage on the back of the tile. Okay, so here is a close-up view of what I'm doing. First I'm gonna fill all the empty spaces in the mat with the flat side of the trowel. Then I'm gonna flip it over, notch it out to gauge the thin set out, back butt of the tile, and then press the tile. Okay, tile is back butted. Push it in, slide it back and forth a bit, press it in. I'm going to pick it up and show you the coverage that I have. 100% coverage. That's what you want to achieve. Okay, so the tile's all installed, and so I'm gonna test the wires with my multimeter one last time, and then it's up to the electrician to hook everything up. Okay, I'm gonna set my meter to 2,000 ohms, and I'll test between the black and the blue, or this could be white, and see what I get. $33. And I can record that in here. Okay, so with my multimeter still on 2,000. I'm going to measure between the black and the ground, and then the blue and the ground. That should indicate I. That's good. And do the other one. That's good. And I'm going to record that in the book as well. Tape down these wires just so it's easier to test, because I don't have alligator clips. This meter doesn't have alligator clips, so it keeps running away from me. So I'm going to test these two and then record the value in the book. So 15.31. And 15.26. Then I'm going to leave for the electrician, and he'll take care of the rest.
Okay, so the floor is all cleaned up. Only thing left is grout. Okay, so another thing to remember is that because the floor is being heated, that there's going to be a lot more expansion and contraction of the floor. So you want to make sure you leave enough room for that at the walls and anywhere that the tile abuts a hard surface. Now that's a color matching caulk to the grout, and that's what I'm going to use at the steps and at the door. Okay, so I'm using a caulk where the tile meets a hard surface, like at these steps, because I couldn't undercut them for the tile to go under. So I am using a caulk that gives a soft joint so the tile can move, and I'm also going to use the same caulk at the door, and that's really the only two places where I couldn't leave an expansion joint. Okay, so just gonna grout, and I'm all finished with this floor. The wire has been tested 3 times. The electrician will hook up the programmable thermostat and the cable to the power, and then the floor will be ready to be heated and used normally. Okay, so that's the finished floor. Just really needs just a final rinse, but Prodeso heat, uncoupling membrane, SunTouch Warm Wire with their thermostat.